Have you ever felt something shifting, quietly, deep within? As if your soul knows something your mind can't explain? Carl Jung believed that before a major transformation, the unconscious sends us signals, subtle signs that your inner world is realigning, not chaos, not confusion, but preparation. And that's what this is. You're not falling apart. You're being reassembled. But here's the truth no one tells you. The best stage of your life rarely begins with comfort. It begins with a breaking, a tension, a strange emptiness that forces you to go deeper. That feeling you've been having lately, the emotional exhaustion, the need to be alone, the strange pull to change everything, it's not madness. It's a message. You're not lost. You're transitioning. Jung said that people don't find meaning by avoiding pain, but by walking through it consciously. And when life begins to feel like a storm, it's often because your soul is trying to awaken something dormant. And what's on the other side? Something extraordinary. This video is not just a list of signs. It's a map, a psychological map that reveals if you're about to enter the most meaningful, aligned, and authentic stage of your existence. The signs are already around you. And if you recognize even a few of them, get ready. Your old life is ending, and your real life is just beginning. You wake up, and the things that once excited you now feel hollow. The conversations feel shallow. The routines feel pointless. And even the people you once clung to, somehow, they don't feel like home anymore. This isn't depression. It's detachment. Carl Jung taught that before we can become who we truly are, we must let go of who we thought we were. And that process often begins with a quiet death of the false self. You're not broken. You're just being stripped of the roles, masks, and identities that no longer serve you. The discomfort you feel is your soul trying to make space for something new. You can't enter the next stage of your life carrying the weight of your old one. And so, life begins to pull you away from the job that drains you, from the friends who no longer see you, from the version of yourself that kept everyone comfortable except you. This disconnection is sacred. It's your psyche withdrawing energy from what no longer aligns, preparing to redirect it toward your true path. Jung called this the withdrawal of projections, when we stop chasing validation and start listening inward. If you feel like you're in between worlds, it's because you are. But don't panic. This in-between is not the end. It's the doorway. Suddenly you're facing emotions you've buried for years. Old wounds, suppressed anger, childhood fears. They all begin to surface. Uninvited, uncontrollable, undeniable. But what if this isn't a breakdown? What if it's a breakthrough? Carl Jung called this the confrontation with the shadow. When your unconscious brings to light everything you've repressed, so you can finally become whole. You feel triggered more often. You question your beliefs. You remember things you swore you forgot. This is not regression. It's integration. Your unconscious is no longer willing to hide your pain just to keep others comfortable. It's asking you to finally face it, to stop pretending, to heal. Because the life you're about to enter, it doesn't have space for self-denial. You can't become your true self while rejecting the parts of you that are hurt, angry, afraid, or ashamed. This moment, the emotional intensity, the discomfort, the vulnerability, is sacred. It's your initiation. Jung believed that healing isn't about becoming perfect, it's about becoming real. And no one becomes real without facing what's been hiding in the dark. So if your shadow is rising, take it as a sign. Your new life doesn't start by chasing the light. It starts by walking through the dark, with your eyes open. You used to fill every quiet moment with noise, scrolling, talking, working, escaping. But now, silence pulls you in. You start craving solitude, not out of loneliness, but because it finally feels like truth, like peace, like something real. Carl Jung believed that the unconscious speaks in silence, that when the ego steps aside, the soul begins to whisper. And that whisper? It's calling you inward. You no longer want to impress people. You want to understand yourself. You stop chasing validation and start sitting with your own presence. This is a sign of deep inner transformation. The external world loses its grip, and you begin to reconnect with something ancient and alive within you. Something that doesn't scream, but hums. Gently, powerfully, constantly, you begin to notice the space between your thoughts. You listen more. You feel more. You realize that so much of your pain came from avoiding this exact silence. But now, it feels like home. You don't need answers right now. You need presence. Jung called this stage a return to the self, a quiet recentering of energy away from the mask and back to the core. So if you find yourself turning down the volume of the world just to hear your own breath, your own thoughts, your own truth, you're not retreating, you're remembering. You spent years climbing a ladder only to realize it was leaning against the wrong wall. The success you dreamed of? Now it feels empty. The goals you chased no longer feel like yours. And this confusion, it's terrifying. But Jung would say, this is exactly where transformation begins. You're not failing, you're evolving. You're waking up from the trance of shoulds, the dreams inherited from society, family, even your younger self. And for the first time, you're asking a radical question. What do I truly want? Not what looks good on paper, not what earns applause, but what sets your soul on fire. This disillusionment is sacred. Jung described it as the death of the persona, the moment your identity no longer fits the mold you built to survive. And when the mask begins to crack, something deeper begins to emerge. You might feel lost right now, unmotivated, drifting, unsure. But this is not the end. It's the beginning of authentic desire. You're not meant to chase goals that numb you. You're meant to create a life that mirrors your essence. So if everything that once mattered suddenly feels meaningless, good. That emptiness is not a void. It's a clearing. And from that space, your real purpose will rise. People around you are changing. Some drift away without warning. Others reveal parts of themselves you never saw before. And then there's you, saying things you never had the courage to say, setting boundaries you once felt too guilty to set. It's not that the world changed. You did. Carl Jung believed that as we move closer to our authentic self, our outer world begins to reflect that shift, sometimes painfully, but always truthfully. You begin to see through illusions. You no longer tolerate shallow friendships or inauthentic conversations. You crave depth, honesty, realness, even if it costs you relationships, even if it makes you feel alone, because your soul is no longer willing to shrink just to keep the peace. This is what Jung called individuation, the process of becoming who you really are, rather than who others expected you to be. And as you become more real, everything that's fake naturally falls away. Don't fight it. The loss is painful, yes, but it's also proof. Proof that your energy is shifting, that your vibration is rising, and that your new life requires new alignment. So if things are falling apart around you, look closer. They're not falling apart. They're falling into place. Suddenly, what once felt safe now feels suffocating. You start questioning everything, your beliefs, your habits, your entire worldview. And even though you can't explain it, something inside you whispers, there's more. Carl Jung believed that the unconscious doesn't just hold our pain, it also holds our potential. And when the time is right, it begins to call us toward it, not with certainty, but with longing. You feel a strange magnetism toward the unfamiliar. You want to explore new ideas. You feel drawn to different people, places, perspectives. You crave mystery, not because you're lost, but because you're being invited. This pull toward the unknown is your soul asking to expand. And expansion never comes through repetition. It comes through risk. You might feel afraid. That's normal. But Jung taught that fear is often the guardian of transformation. What you fear to face is usually the exact place your power is buried. So if life feels uncertain, if your old path has vanished and a new one hasn't appeared yet, congratulations, you're in the threshold. A sacred place where the ego loses control and the self begins to guide. Don't rush it. Don't numb it. Just listen. Because what's calling you now isn't random. It's the life you were always meant to live, just waiting for you to say yes. There was a time when you looked outside for everything. Approval, direction, meaning. But now, something has shifted. You begin to hear a voice, not loud but unmistakable. It doesn't shout. It doesn't beg. It simply knows. And for the first time, you start to trust it. Carl Jung believed that the self, the deepest part of us, is constantly guiding our evolution. But most people are too distracted, too conditioned, too afraid to listen. You're not one of them anymore. You're starting to value intuition over opinion, inner peace over popularity, wholeness over performance. This is a profound sign that you are leaving the persona behind. The mask you wore to survive no longer fits the person you're becoming. And in its place, clarity, stillness, a quiet sense that you no longer need to be anyone but you. You start making choices that feel right, even if they don't make sense to others. You walk away from things not because you have all the answers, but because your soul whispers, not this. This is not rebellion, it's alignment. Jung wrote, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens." And if you're beginning to awaken to your values, your truth, your essence, then get ready. Your life is about to change from the inside out. Look back, just for a second. You're not the same person you were a year ago, not even the same person you were a month ago. Your thoughts have shifted, your energy has changed. Your desires, your limits, your truth, they've all evolved. Carl Jung would say, this isn't just personal growth. This is a psychological rebirth, and rebirth always follows a death. of illusions, of outdated identities, of everything that no longer aligns. You may not have noticed it while it was happening. But piece by piece, life has been peeling away the false layers. The people who left, the plans that collapsed, the emotions that overwhelmed you, all part of the same sacred process. Shedding what's not truly you. And now, you're standing at the edge of something new. You can feel it, a quiet readiness. You may not know exactly where you're going, but you do know this. You're done pretending. You're done shrinking. You're done living a life that doesn't feel real. This is the space Jung called the transcendent function. When tension between who you were and who you're becoming gives birth to a new reality. You're not breaking down. You're breaking through. So if you've been waiting for a sign that your real life is about to begin, this is it. This moment, right here, right now, is a threshold. Behind you, the old life fades. Ahead, the unknown awaits. But it's not just any unknown. It's your becoming. Carl Jung believed that life's deepest meaning comes when we dare to answer the call of our inner self. When we stop running from who we are and start embracing the totality of our being. The light, the shadow, the chaos, and the peace. You're not just about to enter a new chapter. You're about to step into your fullest, most authentic self. And yes, it will be hard. Yes, it will challenge everything you thought you knew. But it will also be beautiful beyond words. Because the best stage of your life doesn't come from luck or chance. It comes from courage. The courage to face yourself. The courage to shed the old. The courage to say yes to growth, to change, to life. So if you recognize these signs, if your soul is whispering and your heart is aching for more, know this. You're ready. The best is coming. And it begins with you. Are you ready to begin?